I had a horror story last year from a team that you would know well. They brought a guy back from ACL surgery. The medical team handed him over to the performance staff. They did some run-throughs with him. They measured them all on SpeedSig. They literally rang me up and said, "Man, this doesn't look right. Can you look at the data?" And sure enough, it was a patella tendon graft. The kid couldn't produce vertical force. My first thought and what I said to them was, you need to see if that patella tendon's symptomatic. So for anyone listening that doesn't quite get an ACL reconstruction, particularly with a patella tendon graft, they'll take the middle third of the patella out. But if you don't build the strength back up in that tendon, you can end up with insertional tendinopathy. So it swells, it gets sore. But when we run, what it means is they can't push vertically. And vertical force, overcoming the forces of gravity, again, I'll quote Peter Wayne, his work, brilliant in this space. If you can't overcome gravity, then you're not going to run fast. And so we were able to say to that group, you need to go back to the medical staff and tick off, have we got all the boxes ticked? But that communication piece between ATs, physical therapists, S&C coaches, all absolutely critical to performance.
What has been your most fun, without obviously with respect to, the companies and the different teams, don't say names, but what has been like the most fun story? Like you just said there, hey, they called you with this issue. What has been something fun where somebody's been like, hey, we use this, and man, like a success story, or a couple of them?
Yeah. Well, the best story, my favorite is, and I'll call him out because he's a great coach. I love him. Terrence Kennel down at University of South Florida, TK. He was one of the first guys I showed my system to back in a couple of years ago. Now, SpeedSig's currently in its third generation. I wrote the first two. The third generation now is completely commercial. But the first two, I showed him the first one. And the day I showed him, and I explained it, you should have seen his eyes light up. This was a guy who knew running. And as soon as I showed him, it was like, wow, I know what to do with this. And he's gone on to, he had one of the biggest ACLs I've ever heard of. Like, this was ACL, MCL. I think he did all the medial meniscus. He rehabbed the kid back to play last year, and he SpeedSigged the whole thing, and he used it the whole way through. And just the conversations, he's about to write some case studies up. But I mean, the day I saw TK light up was the day I went, right, I'm not talking to myself here. This is actually something people value. And and from then there's been other guys. So there's other guys like TK around the US, which I love working with.
I mean, I remember TK when he was talking about it on his episode, which is also linked down below for anybody that wants it. But TK was like, dude, we bought, like, correct me if I'm wrong. They either verbally agreed or paid you right away. They were like, no, they were like, we're getting this.
Yeah. So we sat down again. You talk about a unified group. We sat down with their head coach, head coach, S&C coach, and their head of medical. We sat down and went through it, and they just went, this fits what we're doing. And this is a short story, but when I talk to people who've never seen it before, I say, think of yourself like a caveman. Imagine the first day you saw fire. If I put fire in front of you like that, it'd be like shock. That's what SpeedSig's like. But then you go, oh, warm our hands. That's the second reaction. But the third reaction is people who start to connect the dots and go, hey man, if I throw wood on this fire, it's going to get bigger, and we'll keep the saber-toothed tigers away and all that. But what it means in practice is we start to get people connect the dots and say, hey, we could do fatigue with this. We could do that, and all these things. And that was TK and Gio, the boy. They just lit up and went, we know what to do with this. And they have been arguably one of the easiest clients to work with, because anytime I get a phone call from them, it's like, let's just work on this. They might have an issue and we just work through it. They've been fantastic. But seeing someone's eyes light up like a kid on Christmas Day because they go, this fits my philosophy. And that's where I think we've been trying to work harder more recently, is helping people understand running if they understand running, then they can see where we can go with this information.
The the question then that I wanted to have is with respect to running. All right. Have you seen people then say, okay, I started using these specialized exercises in the weight room too, and then we saw this transfer? Like, how have you seen that with respect to healthy athletes or any injured athletes?
The healthy athlete one, we've seen predominantly with the younger athletes. So as we're trying to get them stronger and
Okay.
more resilient,
Yeah.
we're able to see transitions from, remember I said before, we always judge against a normative data set.
Yeah. And
So
what does
if
that
you're
normative data set come from?
So we generate it within the team, but we're also working at the moment to build, what we're building at the moment is a broader data set so that a client could say, hey, we want to look at our data versus NFL data or our data versus English Premier League, that type of thing. But that means we can see when a kid gets stronger, not just in the gym, but when they can apply it in running. And that's a big thing, right? Everybody talks about, you watch anything that Noah Lyles is said about Noah Lyles is dude's strong, no question. But what he puts on the ground is more than anybody else.
Thanks for watching that video. If you enjoyed it, click right here for videos just like that, and make sure you click here to subscribe to our channel. Have a great rest of your day.